listening to Houston Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Shannon Register, and every week we bring you news and information you can use on your next real estate transaction. If you've got a real estate question, give us a call here at the studio, 281-882-8088, and we'll be happy to answer your real estate questions right here on the air every Sunday at 6 p.m. If you miss any of today's show, make sure you catch us online at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com. We do video tape all the segments. So if you miss any of today's segments, or if you wanted to take notes and didn't get to, check us out online. Lots of great information there. Next up on the show, we've got Mike Sullivan. You've heard his name and you've seen his name. I'm sure you've seen his name come in the mail recently. He is the Harris County Tax Assessor-Collector, and that's why you've seen his name, and it sounds so familiar to you. You might be getting ready to write a big check to him right now. So we've got him joining us here on the show, and also Elizabeth Doss. She's the Director of Property Tax, and she's here with us as well. So welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Thank you for having us.
So many people right now recognize your name because they just got a bill from you either in October or November for their property taxes. And it's interesting that we write the checks directly to you. Tell us about that. That's interesting to me.
Well, it is. And everywhere I go, someone says, "Oh, I recognize your name. I wrote your check." It's a constitutionally mandated requirement. Texas is very old, a lot of history, a lot of tradition. And it goes back to the fact that the tax assessor collector is personally liable for the finances that he collects.
Okay, interesting. All right, so it has to have your name on the check, not just your position or your...
Exactly. Now, we will, just so the public knows, we'll cash the check, and we'll cash the check if it says tax assessor or if it goes back to any of my predecessors even. We'll find a way to put the money in the bank.
Very good. All right, so tell us, what exactly does your office do? I mean, as a tax assessor collector, what do you do for the public?
Well, it's a large organization. We have three distinct business units. We collect property taxes for over 70 jurisdictions. We have an automobile division that sells license plates, transfers titles, collects sales tax on new autos. And we also are in charge of the voter registration rolls. And the transactions that we conduct are very large. We collect $5 billion a year in property taxes. We conduct
that's not just property taxes for individuals. That's corporations, companies as well.
Yes, ma'am. Personal property, business property, personal business property, if you will, furniture, fixtures, inventory, and businesses. We collect all those. Now, what we do is we actually send the bill out. The Harris County Appraisal District conducts the appraisals throughout the year, and then the taxing jurisdictions that we collect for set their property tax rate, and then all that information comes to us. We kind of mix it all up in a big computer.
So they're setting the rate. You're not setting the rate.
They are. That's correct. Okay. Everything from school districts to municipal utility districts. They set their rate, and then we compile it all and send the bill out. And those bills go out first couple of weeks in November.
Okay, so everybody should have had their bills by now, and they're due by what date?
They're due by January 31st, and that's the last day that you can pay without incurring penalty and interest.
And if you want to go in person to pay, you can.
You can. We have 17 branch offices throughout Harris County, and when you go into the branch offices, don't be discouraged by the lines. So many people are moving to Harris County, and we hear that a lot. Well, every one of them has to come to our office and register their titles, their license, titles, registration, and get Texas license plates. And that transaction takes 15 to 20 minutes, so the lines are long. We have, however, a dedicated property tax window. So if you go in and you see a line and you're there to pay your property taxes, just look for the property tax window. Usually that line is either short or no one in it, and we'll get you in and out pretty quick.
One of the interesting taxes that I think if you've never owned a business, you may not be aware, like you were talking about the fixtures and things. If you own a business, even though you don't own the property, you still pay a tax on the things that are inside the business, like the computers, the desk, all of those things. I think a lot of people who've never owned a business may not even be aware that people are being taxed for that who own companies.
Right. I was a small business owner my whole life prior to being elected to Houston City Council, and it was something I did not look forward to because it's interesting. You have to pay your tax on that inventory and your furniture and fixtures. It's not a result of if you're making money or not making money in your business. That tax bill is due every year.
That's right. That's right. Even if you took a loss that year, you still have to pay the taxes on the things that you own in there. All right. So tell us what's the biggest complaint that you guys get through your office?
Well, because of the population and the number of transactions I mentioned, the complaint that we get are the lines. And we're doing, we are working on a lot of different initiatives to reduce the lines. We're investing more in technology. We've added more window clerks at our busiest branches. And then at our at our 6 busiest branches, we've employed an information clerk to stand at the front of the line at the door. So when you come in, she reviews your paperwork. And if you don't have a form filled out or you need something notarized, whatever the case may be, you don't have to sit in line 45 minutes to find that out. You can actually run, take care of it, and come back, and then they'll put you back in line.
That's good. What would you say to those homeowners out there who have their children in private school? Because I hear this a lot in real estate. They have their children in a private school, and they don't want to pay property taxes to the school property taxes because their kids don't go to that school. What would you say to those people?
Well, pardon me, as someone who has their only child in college, we're in that same position now. Unfortunately, we all have to pay our fair share, as the saying goes, and that's a state law. It's easy for me to pitch that to Austin, but that's where it comes from. We're going to have to do whatever Austin tells us to, and that's a nice way for me to tell you that we are simply an agent for state agencies. We're an agent for the Secretary of State for the elections business that we do. We're also an agent for Tex DMV for the automobile business.
Now, all this revenue that you collect, $5 billion, where's all that money going?
Well, I'm going to ask Ms. Doss to help me with that.
Everybody wants to know what they're paying all that money for, right?
Well, we do collect, as Mr. Sullivan said earlier, for 70 taxing jurisdictions, which range from Harris County, City of Houston, Houston Independent School District, to a lot of very small ones that do emergency service districts. And each of them have their own governing body, and they set their own tax rates. And, we get the values times the tax rate. We send out the tax bills. And then we prepare the disbursement that our Harris County Treasurer, Orlando Sanchez, then sends to those taxing jurisdictions, and then they decide how those funds are, used in their jurisdictions.
So you're collecting it, not dispersing it.
Yeah, we are just the collectors. And on an average bill, you would, if you lived in the city of Houston, you would have Houston, HISD, HCC. You have about 7 jurisdictions. The county has 4. So we collect everybody's if you live in the city of Houston type area. But then if you live out in the county, you could have several jurisdictions because you could have several ESDs that we collect for. But then you would also get tax bills from other school assessors or other MUD districts because we don't collect for all of them. There are over 400 taxing jurisdictions in Harris County.
Do you feel like it's important, an important part of your job to protect the homeowners in your area of Harris County?
No doubt. And let me let Elizabeth walk you through what I'll call the tax sale process. When you don't pay your property taxes, the law requires us to file a lawsuit. And then if you don't respond, you don't work out a payment plan, then there are foreclosure steps. And there are extraordinary efforts put into this process.
Yes, after bills go delinquent in January 31st. And between now and then, every opportunity to make a payment, we take any kind of partial payment. So it's always encouraged homeowners and everyone to just make any kind of payment they can. And then after January 31st, we also do payment agreements. And we do payment agreements all year long, depending if you're a resident homestead or if you're a business. So we do offer payment arrangements. And payment agreements are for 12 months. So we could then take your payments and then equally divide them out for 12 months and then you can get caught up basically. But if there's some reason you can't do the payment agreement or those things happen, we do turn them over to our delinquent attorneys and then start the suit process. You get constable serves you go through the whole court process, and that does take some time. And then after a judge has finalized the judgment, we do go to tax sale. But at that point, we are still offering payment agreements because in the end, we're collectors and we rather collect the money than sell your house.
Yeah. All right, real quickly, tell us about the military help desk that you started, the dedicated line for military service members and families.
Very excited to announce that on Veterans Day that we created a dedicated help desk, military help desk to serve the families families and servicemen and women who are overseas or deployed. And it was very touching how that came to me, because I was reading customer service emails and I found out that moms and dads and spouses were saying, my husband or wife is deployed, and what do I do?
Yeah, that's exciting. And that number for that is?
Yeah, telephone number is 713-274-HERO. And then we have a very large button on our homepage at hctax.net.
All right, fantastic. Thanks for joining us today. A lot of great information. We appreciate you coming on the show.
It's been great to be here. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
All right, thanks for listening to Houston Real Estate Radio.